Chapter 24. Everything begins with a word. Everything. The scriptures are quite clear about this. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This, of course, is the principle of high magic. The word and the power of the word, the intonation, the resonance, the vibration, things of that nature. The word came to the travellers on the 1 o'clock news. It came from the BBC. The word was that 23,000 travellers, disappointed at being turned away from their festival at Gunnersbury Park, were now heading for Star Hill. And, in approximately the time it takes to turn the key in an ignition, or at least get a bump start going, they were. Magic. "Hang about," called John O'Malley. "What's all the rush? Come back." 1, 2, 1, 2, went Anna Gotten through 1,000,000 watts of power. "Shavers, sheep." Mickey Minns covered his ears. "I think we could give that the thumbs up. Would you look at all those buses?" They rose up the hill from the place where the other buses, the ones with the numbers on the fronts and the regular places to go, turn around. The first was a technical dream of a thing. Bollocks sat at the wheel. "This is some nice hill," he said to Tup. "We like it." "What's up with Cornelius? He hasn't said a word since the two of you got back from breakfast." "He had a spot of bad news," Tup whispered. "I think there may well be a great deal of unpleasantness when he meets up again with Arthur Cobbold." Men in official Gandhi's Hairdryer World Tour T-shirts waved the happy bus to a halt and put up their thumbs. Bollocks switched off the engine, opened the roof hatch and put up a ladder. "You'll see the show a whole lot better from up here, Tup," he said. "Brilliant!" Tup scaled the ladder, climbed out onto the roof and took it all in. And there was a lot to be took. Upon the crest of the hill, upon the very spot where the concrete memorial plinth of the Reverend Kemp had until so recently stood, was a massive erection, and what a massive erection it was. A mighty stage rose above the tree line, flanked by 2 Herculean hairdryers 50 feet in height and housing speaker systems of sufficient power to stagger the senses of that legendary stable swabber himself. Moored between these titanic structures and bobbing gently in the breeze, which came as ever from the east, was a shining dirigible, cunningly fashioned to resemble the head of a not altogether unknown Mahatma, glasses, big grin, the lot. And, lest some confusion still remained in the minds of the less mentally alert regarding the name of the band scheduled to play, huge letters of the Hollywood sign variety lined the back of the stage. They spelled out the words, "G and his hairdryer." No doubt the road crew would sort that out later. Tup was very much impressed. Cornelius wasn't. His hair appeared through the roof hatch, followed by his head. He took one look up the hill, went "Ugh," and vanished back into the bus, taking his hair with him. Tup remained impressed. A massive erection never left a bad taste in his mouth. And Tup continued with his looking. He spied out the big generator trucks, the lighting gantries with their laser flares and super troopers, the control box where all the technical hocus-pocus went on, the small housing estate of luxuriously appointed artistes' caravans, and he wondered whether the Gandhis were already inside these, gargling champagne, munching steak sandwiches, and doing rude things with groupies. And in the latter part of this wondering, Tup spied out a golden window of sexual opportunity, and so he shinned back down the ladder to see if he could spy out Mr. Bourne. Mickey Minns sat on the edge of the grey-pink stage, sharing a joint with Anna Gotting. Mickey was dreaming about Woodstock. He sighed in a lungful of ganja smoke and said, "Did I ever tell you about the time I—" "Yes," replied Anna, recognising that far-away look. "But you can tell me again if you want to." The sun shone on down, and the trucks and buses kept on coming. The green sword became black with them. They paved it over. And when the common ground was all full up, the men in the official Gandhi's Hairdryer World Tour T-shirts began waving them onto the golf course. It was now 3 in the afternoon. Nor, stuff that, it was now 6 in the evening. Nor, stuff that also, it was now 9 o'clock at night. And the Sonic Energy Authority came on stage. Lasers crisscrossed the sky. Super Troopers did their thing and the band launched into their first number. Now, if you've never seen SEA, and nobody really has, getting the measure of their music can be a tricky business. The lead singer, Cardinal Cox, when asked by the presenter of a TV arts programme to describe it, said, basically like, the music is diatonic, based upon any scale of 5 tones and 2 semitones produced by playing the white keys of a keyboard instrument, especially the natural major and minor scales, as these form the basis of the key system in most of Western music, like. But naturally, this can be seen as a metaphor. Whilst the 5 tones represent man's 5 senses, the 2 semitones represent the dualistic proposition that reality consists of just the 2 basic principles. Mind and matter like. Pretentious brat, muttered the presenter. Well, let's take a break there, and coming up in part 2... The Sonic Energy Authority did play pretty loud though, because as we all know, if it's too loud, you're too old. Their first power chord, a diminished A7th with a flattened ninth on the F string, which was largely symbolic of the euhemerist theory that the gods arose out of the deification of historical heroes, was an absolute stonger. It blew Top straight off the bus roof. "Look out below," he called as he tumbled through the hatch. Bone caught him. "Mr. Bone," said Top, "I gave up searching for you. What say we look up your friend the drummer and see if he might introduce us to his friends the groupies?" "Good idea." Bone hefted Top onto his shoulders and struck out for the good time girls. "Let's rock and roll," he said. "Hello," called the Cardinal, between philosophical key shifts. "Is there anybody out there?" "Oh, what?" "Hey, rah, rah," went the crowd. "Then let us rock and roll." The Cardinal, a striking figure in latex drain pipes and a chainmail tank top, and with slightly less hair than Cornelius Murphy, but not much, gave his guitar a piece of his mind. "This one's called I.O. Silver Lining," he bawled. "Let's go, Top," said Cornelius. "Top, where are you?" "What is all this bloody racket?" cried the king. "I don't know." Arthur Corbould crossed his heart. "It's not my doing." "Well, it's going on right over my head." The king pointed towards the high fan vaulting of the great hall. "And it shouldn't be doing that, should it?" "No, sire, it shouldn't." "Then kindly go up and see what it is, Arthur, and stop it, right away. I run this planet, and I will not have a lot of human rubbish making a racket over my regal head. Put a stop to it. Right now." "As if I didn't have anything else to do." "What did you say, Kobold?" "Nothing, sire." "Now, just let me get you straight." Chief Inspector Brian Litton was speaking into a police car microphone. "The festival is not going to be held in Gunnersbury Park. It is actually on the go a mile away at Star Hill at this very moment." "Well," said a fellow officer of lower rank, "we're in the mess room here at the yard watching it live on TV, so I suppose it must be." "Well," said Brian, "what a turn up for the book. Whoever would have thought it? Thank you very much for mentioning it, officer. Over and out." He replaced the police car microphone. "Bastards!" he screamed, and he picked up the microphone again and said, "All cars in the Gunnersbury Park vicinity now proceed at once to Star Hill. Illegal rock concert in progress. Arrest everyone." "Let's ban rubber!" Constable Ken, now fully recovered from the events of the day before, crime is a disease and I am the cure, and looking forward to his promotion, vrummed the engine. "Let's go kick some ass," he said. "Which way is Star Hill, Sarge?" "Possibly that way." Reliable Ron Sturdy pointed towards the great display of lasers lighting up the sky. "Just follow the noise." "Are you all having a good time?" called the Cardinal, because rock stars always call out things like that. A need for reassurance, probably. "Yay!" the crowd replied.
Then this one's for you. It's off our last album. It's called Weren't the 60s Fave. Thank you.
I like this one, said Mickey Minns to Anna.
What exactly were the 60s?
Top called down to Bourne.
Search me,
said Bourne.
Knock on the door then.
Bourne squared up before the door to the Gandhi's luxury artistes' caravan.
How did we manage to slip unseen past the teams of high devies, whose job it is to prevent people like us doing things like this at rock concerts?
He asked Top.
Does it matter?
Not to me.
Knock then.
Knock, 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 went Bourne. At a Holiday Inn, which might have been anywhere, because they all looked the same and status quo have stayed in them all, the Gandhis were preparing themselves. Colin, the lead singer, zipped himself into a contoured black leather jumpsuit of Caped Crusader credibility, strapped on a steel codpiece, which might have seen the Elephant Man all right as a crash helmet, and became Vainglory.
Are we ready to rock?
He inquired of his fellow musicians. Fearsome personages, with hair and studs and straps and boots and pierced nipples with their room keys dangling down.
We're ready,
said they all. Atop the Holiday Inn, a helicopter stood with its blades gently twirling. The pilot's name was Colin. He was dreaming about planes.
Top,
called Cornelius into the crowd.
Prince Charles,
said Prince Charles, smiling through the open window of his limo.
I'm with the band. Stage pass,
demanded the fellow in the official Gandhi's Hairdryer World Tour T-shirt.
Said the prince. I did have one of those, but I gave it away. Piss off then,
said the fellow. Oh, said the prince.
Well, said the king, what is it?
It's a rock concert, replied Arthur Corbould.
Right above my head, my royal, regal head?
I'm afraid so, sir.
Well, put a stop to it, Kobold. Pull out its plug.
Yes, sire. Copter blades picked up speed. Colin the pilot dreamed about Concorde. The Gandhis had liftoff.
This will be a gig to remember, said Vainglory. Trust me on this, I am telling the truth.
But the rest of the band weren't listening. They were real rock and rollers. They were taking drugs, gangbanging the groupies and eating steak sandwiches. Why do they always eat steak sandwiches?
Top,
Cornelius wandered on.
Top, where are you?
Oi! Shouted a traveller from a bus top.
Shift your rear, we can't see the band.
And the band played on. The Sonic Energy Authority launched into Johnny B. Good. Why Johnny B. Good? Because it's such a blinder of a song, that's why. And the crowd loved it. 23,000 pairs of feet stomped out their appreciation right over the head of the king. Fancy that. His great hall just happening to be inside Star Hill.
Left at the bottom here,
Chief Inspector Lytton told his driver as they reached the place at the bottom of the hill where the buses turn around.
Bloody hell, he continued. Would you look at that lot?
A hide heavy in an official Gandhi's Hairdryer World Tour T-shirt, which bulged somewhat about the shoulder regions, finally answered the door to the artist's luxury caravan.
What do you want?
He asked without charm or interest.
We're friends of Andy the drummer,
said Bourne.
We?
Asked the heavy.
I'm down here,
said Tubb.
Piss off,
said the heavy.
But we're friends of Andy.
Well, he is, said Tubb. I haven't been introduced yet. Would it be okay if we came inside and had some group sex? The heavy scratched his head.
If you promise you'll take me to dinner afterwards, or maybe to a show.
What? Just for letting us in?
No, for the group sex. There's only me here, but I'm quite versatile. Who wants to be the person?
Go look, said Tubb. Here comes a helicopter. And here it did come, caught to perfection in the searchlights. It dropped down onto the hill. That Holiday Inn couldn't have been very far away then. If you're going to be a famous superstar, and let's face it, which of us who's ever played the tennis racket and stood in front of a bedroom mirror isn't going to be, you have to do it right. Your helicopter has to land at exactly the correct moment. The hairdryers did, just as the Cardinal and his band were leaving the stage to Olympic Stadium applause. Guitars held high, fists up, victory signs. It's all like that when you're rich and famous. You can't go wrong.
I'm Prince Charles, said Prince Charles. I'm supposed to host a concert. I would have been in it earlier.
He grinned foolishly back at Polly.
Should I explain why we're late?
Certainly not. Back up and peace off, said the fellow. He was still wearing the same T-shirt. What's going on here? Asked Polly's mum, who just happened to be passing.
Chap in the T-shirt won't let me up on the stage,
said the prince. Leave it to me, dear. Polly's mum took the T-shirt wearer away to one side and spoke urgently into his ear. The T-shirt wearer came back over to the prince's car and gave the prince a big long stare.
Blimey,
said he.
It's really him. Sorry, mate, go right on up. Many thanks.
The prince drove on.
Never recognised him,
said the wearer of the T-shirt as the limo departed.
Fancy that.
He's lost a lot of hair, said Polly's mum, but I knew him by his ears.
Jeff Beck,
quoth he that did the T-shirt wear,
and I never got his autograph.
I could get it for you, if you'll give me that T-shirt.
More than my job's worth. Piss off.
Gandhi's hairdryer, the band, the legend, and the official World Tour T-shirt hit the stage. The crowd erupted as they strapped on their guitars, gestured rudely at their audience, grinned at one another, went 1-2 into the microphones, and pansied about generally. Arthur Corbould had a good view from the side of the stage. He had lately emerged from one of those secret passageways, like the ones they always have in Rupert Bear that come up in the middle of gorse bushes. Arthur was very impressed by the sheer scale of the entire enterprise.
It must have a very big plug,
said Arthur.
1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4,
went Vainglory. They were going to start off with a fast one.
Let me hear you say.
But that was as far as he got. There was a brief moment of feedback, and then all sound died on the stage. Vainglory lashed out at his guitar and cried unheard into his microphone. The drummer went bump, bump, bump. Band members stared lamely at one another. The crowd began to boo. Arthur Corbould looked on. He hadn't done anything. "We will have to take a short break there," came a voice nobody knew. It was a voice from Medio Bigwig. It came full blast through the sound system. It came from the control box where the bigwigs sat. "A word from Her Majesty the Queen," it continued, as a big screen rose above the Hollywood letters, "live from the balcony of Buckingham Palace." Boo, went the crowd. Boo, boo, boo. "That's not very nice," said Prince Charles to Polly, as they mounted the steps to the stage. An enraged Vainglory was just coming down them. "Charlie," said the lead singer, wringing the prince's hand.
"You got here in the nick of time, big boy.
Sort this shit out, would you?"
"The peasants are booing Mummy,"
said Prince Charles.
"Bloody helicopter pilot's fault," moaned Van.
"We weren't supposed to arrive until the speech was over. I told my manager, if we don't headline above the Queen, we do not appear."
"Should I go up and have a word with everybody?"
the prince asked.
"The Queen's special unofficial People's Birthday speech,"
boomed the voice of the bigwig.
"Bollocks,"
cried Bollocks, and pretty much everybody else.
"Best do it now, then,"
said Vane, "before they storm the stage."
"I'll have a go."
Prince Charles smiled at Polly.
"Wish me luck."
"Good luck." Polly kissed him on the cheek. Now, the prince had made very many speeches before in his life, but never to him up like this. They saw him stroll onto the stage with his hands behind his back, and they knew it wasn't Jeff Beck. "Boo!" they went. "Applause, please," said the voice of the bigwig, "or I regret I shall be forced to pull the plug on this gig."
"Now, where is that voice coming from?"
Arthur asked himself. Pull the plug. The travellers became silent. But this was not a peaceful silence. This was a silence which carried about itself such an air of menace that you could almost have cut the silence into strips with a knife and used it to frighten pit bull terriers with. The bigwig in the control box felt it. He saw his whole life passing right before his eyes. Prince Charles waved and said, "Hello," but the centre stage microphone was still switched off. The crowd prepared itself mentally for the storming of the stage. "Applause, please," cried the bigwig. They were the best famous last words he could think of, and suddenly the crowd welled into applause.
Thank you,
said the prince, but it wasn't for him. Vainglory had appeared once more on the stage. The bigwig in the control box hastily switched the centre stage microphone back on. Vain came up behind the prince and put his arm around his shoulder. He tapped the microphone. "Listen up," he said. "Yay!" went the crowd. "Listen up. This guy's a buddy of mine, and his mum's going to say a few words. It's sound, okay? Then the Gandhis are going to rock till dawn. What you say?" "We say yay," said the crowd.
Let me hear you say yeah,"
said the prince. "Yeah," said the crowd.
"Yeah,"
said the prince. "Yeah," said the crowd. Vainglory whispered at the prince's ear. "Best not milk it. The secret is in knowing when to stop. Introduce your mum, then leg it."
"Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls,"
said the prince.
"Her Majesty the Queen."
There was silence. Vainglory put his hand to his ear.
"Did we hear you say yeah?"
"Yeah," went the crowd, and 3 people clapped. And the big screen behind the stage lit up to display a picture of the prince's mummy on the balcony at Buckingham Palace. Cornelius ceased his fruitless search for Top and sat down to watch. The Queen put on her spectacles and read from a prepared speech. "Peoples of the world," she read, "it affords us much pleasure to speak to you all on the evening of our special birthday. These are difficult days for us all." For some more than others, thought the crowd. To a man, or a woman, or a child, or a small dog on a piece of string. "Caring look," read the Queen. "Oh, I see. That's a strange direction. Can we go for another take?"
"She's losing it,"
whispered Charles to Polly.
"She should have abdicated years ago. The Queen Mother wouldn't let her. Say she doesn't want to be referred to as the Queen Grandmother."
The Queen received words of advice through an earphone. She made a caring face. "And in these difficult and troubled times, we all must—" But that was all she said, because 1 minute she was there making her speech, and the next minute she wasn't. A rumble went through the watching crowd on Star Hill. It was a "what's going on here" kind of rumble.
"You don't suppose she's been shot?"
Prince Charles tried very hard to keep that note of glee out of his voice. "No, look!" Polly pointed up at the image on the screen. Palace security men were now all over the balcony. They were pointing their guns in all directions and shouting things like, "Where the blade did she go?" And then another voice rose above theirs. It was a deep and sonorous voice, and it said,
"Attention, peoples of the world. Her Majesty the Queen has just been kidnapped."
And then the screen went blank. And then the travellers really cheered.